My brother's wife. Hit my daughter with a belt for getting better grades than her son. How dare you hit my daughter with a belt? The words tore from my throat as I stared at my sister-in-law standing in my kitchen, leather belt still dangling from her trembling hand. My 9-year-old daughter Lily was pressed against the counter behind me, sobbing, angry red welts already rising across her shoulders. She needed to learn some humility, Karen shot back, her face twisted with rage. Your precious little princess thinks she's better than everyone. You beat a child because she got good grades? I could barely comprehend what had just happened. Are you insane? I was disciplining her. Someone had to teach her not to show off. I grabbed my phone from the counter. Get out of my house before I call the police. You're never coming near my daughter again. I'm Rebecca. I need to start by explaining the complicated relationship I have with my older brother Nicholas and his wife Karen. Nicholas and I used to be close growing up in suburban Chicago, but everything changed when he married Karen 6 years ago. She's one of those people who sees every situation as a competition and can't stand it when anyone in her orbit succeeds at something her family doesn't. Karen has a 9-year-old son named Tyler from her previous marriage. He's a sweet kid, but he's always struggled academically. He has learning disabilities that make reading and math particularly challenging for him, despite getting extra help at school and working with tutors at the Huntington Learning Center twice a week. My daughter Lily is also 9 years old, and she's always been naturally gifted when it comes to academics. She reads voraciously, currently working her way through the entire Percy Jackson series, excels at math, and genuinely loves learning new things. I've never pushed her to be competitive with other kids. She just naturally gravitates toward challenging herself intellectually. The problem started about 18 months ago when Lily and Tyler ended up in the same third-grade class at Riverside Elementary. It became impossible to avoid comparisons between the two kids, especially during family gatherings when report cards and school achievements came up in conversation. Lily consistently made the principal's honor roll while Tyler struggled to maintain passing grades. Lily tested into the GATE program, Gifted and Talented Education, while Tyler needed additional support services through his IEP. Lily loved participating in the school spelling bee and math competitions, while Tyler preferred soccer and art activities where he could excel. I tried to be sensitive about these differences. I never bragged about Lily's achievements in front of Tyler, and I always made sure to praise Tyler for his strengths in areas like athletics and creativity. The kid could draw like nobody's business and had scored 3 goals in his last soccer game. But Karen took every one of Lily's successes as a personal attack on her son. It must be nice to have such an easy kid, she'd say with fake sweetness whenever Lily's grades came up. Some of us have children who actually have to work for their achievements. The implication was always that Lily's academic success was somehow less meaningful because it came naturally to her, while Tyler's struggles made his smaller victories more admirable. Karen was determined to find fault with everything Lily did. If Lily helped Tyler with homework, Karen accused her of showing off. If Lily won the third-grade geography bee, Karen claimed it was because the teachers at Riverside Elementary played favorites. If Lily read chapter books during family dinners at Olive Garden, Karen insisted she was just trying to make other kids feel bad about themselves. The situation escalated this past school year when both kids were in 4th grade. Lily tested into an accelerated math program that allowed her to take 5th-grade mathematics while staying with her regular class for other subjects. It was a wonderful opportunity that would challenge her appropriately and keep her engaged in learning. Tyler, meanwhile, was still receiving remedial support in math and reading through the special education department. His teachers were working hard to help him catch up to grade level, and he was making progress, but it was slow and required a lot of extra effort from everyone involved. When Lily got accepted into the accelerated program, I was excited to share the news with family. Instead, Karen's reaction was immediate and hostile. So now Lily gets special treatment while Tyler has to struggle in regular classes, she said during Sunday brunch at my parents' house in Naperville. My mom had made her famous blueberry pancakes, but the tension at the table made them hard to swallow. It's not special treatment, I explained, keeping my voice calm. It's appropriate placement based on her abilities, just like Tyler gets appropriate support for his needs, right? So Lily gets rewarded for being smart while Tyler gets labeled as slow. That seems fair. My father, usually the peacekeeper, tried to intervene. Karen, the kids have different needs. There's nothing wrong with that. But Karen had already decided that Lily's placement in accelerated math was somehow an attack on Tyler's self-esteem and academic confidence. My brother Nicholas just sat there, cutting his pancakes into smaller and smaller pieces, saying nothing. Over the next few months, Karen became increasingly critical of Lily whenever we had family gatherings. She'd make comments about know-it-all kids and showing off in front of adults. She'd ask Lily deliberately difficult questions, like naming all 50 state capitals or solving complex word problems, and then act like Lily was being arrogant if she knew the answers. I started limiting how much time Lily spent around Karen because the constant criticism was starting to affect her. Lily began second-guessing herself and asking me if she should pretend not to know things so people would like her better. "Sweetheart, you never have to hide how smart you are," I told her one night, while tucking her into her bed with the Constellation comforter she loved. "The right people will appreciate you for exactly who you are." But the situation came to a head 3 weeks ago during what should have been a normal family playdate. Nicholas and Karen were going through some marriage problems and needed someone to watch Tyler for the afternoon while they went to couples therapy. I offered to have Tyler come over to our house in Oak Park so he and Lily could play together, which had always worked well in the past despite their academic differences. The kids were actually having a great time. They were playing Mario Kart on the Nintendo Switch, building with Lily's Lego sets, and working on an art project together, painting rocks they'd collected from our backyard to look like different animals. Tyler was in his element with the creative activities, and Lily was enjoying having a playmate for the afternoon. Around 3 o'clock, both kids were at the kitchen table working on homework. Lily was breezing through her accelerated math worksheets, problems involving fractions and decimals, while Tyler was struggling with basic multiplication tables that were part of his remedial math homework. I was in the living room folding laundry, a never-ending mountain of clothes that seemed to multiply overnight, when I heard Tyler getting frustrated with his math problems. "I can't do this," he was saying, his voice thick with frustration. "These numbers are too hard." "Want me to help you?" Lily offered kindly. "My teacher, Mrs. Anderson, showed us a trick for remembering multiplication tables. You can use your fingers to—" "No, I don't want your help," Tyler replied, but not in a mean way. More like he was embarrassed about needing assistance from his younger cousin who was somehow ahead of him academically. That's when Karen showed up. She and Nicholas had finished their therapy session early, and instead of calling to let me know they were coming, Karen just walked into my house using the spare key I'd given them for emergencies. I heard the front door open and close, then footsteps heading toward the kitchen. Karen walked in and immediately surveyed the scene, Lily working efficiently through advanced math problems while Tyler struggled with basic multiplication, his worksheet covered with eraser marks and frustrated scribbles. "What's going on here?" she asked, her voice already carrying that dangerous edge I'd learned to recognize over the years. "Just homework time," I said, joining them in the kitchen with my laundry basket balanced on my hip. "Both kids have been working really well today." Karen picked up Lily's completed worksheets and looked through them, her expression growing darker with each page. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "These are fifth-grade math problems," she said accusingly, waving the papers like evidence of some crime. "Yes, Lily's in the accelerated program, remember? We talked about this at—" Then Karen picked up Tyler's worksheet and saw that he'd only completed 3 problems in the same time Lily had finished an entire assignment. Her jaw clenched, and I could see the anger building behind her eyes, like storm clouds gathering. "Tyler, why aren't you done with your homework yet?" she demanded. "The problems are hard, Mom. I'm trying my best." Lily's already finished with work that's much harder than yours, Karen said, her voice rising. Why can't you work as fast as she does? I could see where this was heading and tried to intervene. Karen, they're doing completely different types of work. You can't compare their progress like that. It's apples and oranges. Can't I? They're the same age, in the same grade. If Lily can finish her homework quickly, Tyler should be able to finish his too. That's not how learning works. But Karen wasn't listening to reason. She was focused on what she saw as evidence that Tyler was somehow failing compared to Lily. She pulled out a chair and sat down next to Tyler, hovering over his work, pointing out every mistake with increasing agitation. Tyler, I want you to finish this worksheet right now, she demanded. No more dawdling. You're perfectly capable of doing this work if you just focus. She started pushing him to work faster, her finger jabbing at each problem. The poor kid was getting more and more flustered under the pressure. His hand was shaking as he tried to write the answers. 7 times 8 is 56, not 54, she said impatiently. You should know this by now. We've practiced these facts 100 times. Tyler, try harder. Lily doesn't make these kinds of basic mistakes. That's when Lily, bless her heart, tried to help the situation. She put down her pencil and looked at her cousin with genuine kindness in her eyes. Actually, I make mistakes all the time, she said softly. Yesterday, I got confused about long division and had to start over 3 times. Mrs. Anderson said making mistakes is how we learn. Karen whipped around to face Lily with a look of pure fury that made my blood run cold. Nobody asked for your input, young lady, she hissed. And don't lie to make Tyler feel better about his poor performance. I'm not lying, Lily said, her voice smaller now, confused by her aunt's anger. Everyone makes mistakes when they're learning new things. You think you're so smart, don't you? Karen said, her voice getting louder with each word. You think you're better than everyone else because you get good grades and win spelling bees and get put in special programs. No, I don't think I'm better than anyone. Yes, you do. I can see it in the way you act, the way you show off your perfect homework while Tyler struggles. You like making other kids feel stupid, don't you? You enjoy it. I stepped between them immediately, my mama bear instincts kicking into overdrive. Karen, that's enough. Lily was trying to be kind and supportive. She wasn't showing off anything. Kind? She's being condescending. She's rubbing her success in Tyler's face right here in your kitchen. But Karen was beyond rational discussion. She was in full attack mode, and Lily had become her target. This is exactly the problem, Karen continued, now standing and gesturing angrily, her chair scraping loudly against the tile floor. You've raised Lily to think she's special, some kind of child genius, and now she looks down on kids who aren't as naturally gifted. You're turning her into an arrogant little... Lily was starting to cry at this point, tears streaming down her cheeks. She'd never been yelled at like this before, and she couldn't understand why her aunt was so angry with her. Her small hands were trembling as she clutched her pencil. I'm sorry if I did something wrong, she said through her tears, her voice breaking. I was just trying to help Tyler. I didn't mean to. You were trying to show off, Karen screamed. You always have to be the smartest person in the room. You can't just let Tyler have one moment without making him feel inferior. That's when Tyler, who had been watching this whole confrontation unfold with horror on his face, finally spoke up. Mom, stop yelling at Lily, he said, his own voice shaking. She didn't do anything wrong. She's always nice to me. Don't defend her, Tyler. Can't you see how she makes you look bad with her perfect grades and her advanced classes? She's making a fool of you. She doesn't make me look bad. We're just different at school stuff. I'm better at soccer and art. But Karen was too far gone to listen to reason, even from her own son. She was completely consumed by her resentment toward Lily and her jealousy over my daughter's academic success. Her face was flushed red, and there was a wildness in her eyes I'd never seen before. Someone needs to teach this little princess some humility, she said, her voice taking on a dangerous tone that made every hair on my body stand up. Karen walked over to where she had left her purse on the counter and pulled out her belt, a thick brown leather belt with a heavy silver buckle that caught the afternoon light streaming through the kitchen window. "What are you doing?" I asked, alarm bells going off in my head like sirens. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "I'm going to teach your daughter a lesson about respect and humility," Karen said, wrapping one end of the belt around her hand. "Karen, put that belt down right now," I commanded, moving to shield Lily with my body. "No, Lily needs to learn that actions have consequences, that being smart doesn't make her better than everyone else." And that's when we had the confrontation from the beginning of my story. Karen raised the belt and brought it down hard across Lily's back and shoulders. The sound of leather striking skin echoed through my kitchen like a gunshot. My daughter screamed in pain and shock, a sound that will haunt me for the rest of my life. She'd never been hit by anyone in her life, let alone beaten with a belt by her own aunt. I lunged forward and grabbed the belt out of Karen's hands before she could strike Lily again, yanking it so hard that Karen stumbled backward against the refrigerator. "How dare you hit my daughter with a belt?" I shouted, my voice shaking with rage and adrenaline. "She needed to learn some humility. Your precious little princess thinks she's better than everyone." "You beat a 9-year-old child because she got good grades? Are you insane?" "I was disciplining her. Someone had to teach her not to show off." "Get out of my house before I call the police. You're never coming near my daughter again." Lily was sobbing, pressed against the wall, and I could see angry red welts already rising on her back where the belt had struck her. Tyler was crying too, absolutely horrified by what his mother had done to his cousin. "Mom, why did you hurt Lily?" he asked through his tears, his voice small and broken. "She was just doing her homework." "Because she needed to learn a lesson about humility and respect," Karen said, but even she seemed shaken by what she'd just done. I immediately called 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was child abuse, and I wasn't going to handle it quietly to keep the peace or protect family harmony. Those days were over. While we waited for the police to arrive, I took pictures of Lily's injuries with my phone, documenting every welt, every mark. I tried to comfort her, holding her carefully so I wouldn't touch the injured areas, but she kept asking what she'd done wrong, why her aunt had hurt her, and whether she was really a bad person like Karen had said. "Baby, you didn't do anything wrong," I told her, smoothing her hair back from her tear-stained face. "Nothing at all. Aunt Karen has problems that have nothing to do with you." When the police arrived, 2 officers from the Oak Park Police Department, they took statements from everyone, including Tyler, who confirmed through his tears that his mother had hit Lily with a belt after yelling at her for being smart and getting good grades. Karen tried to claim that she'd been disciplining Lily for being disrespectful and talking back, but the officers weren't buying it. The evidence was too clear, and Tyler's statement contradicted her version of events. "Ma'am, you don't have the right to physically discipline someone else's child," Officer Rodriguez explained patiently. "And hitting a child with a belt crosses the line into abuse, regardless of the circumstances." She was being arrogant and condescending to my son. She needed to be taught a lesson about showing off, Karen insisted. "That's not your decision to make, and physical violence is never an appropriate response to a child's academic success," Officer Chen said firmly. "We're going to need you to come with us." Karen was arrested and charged with child abuse and assault. Nicholas, who had arrived partway through the police interview, just stood there in shock, staring at his wife in handcuffs. We went to Northwestern Memorial Hospital to have Lily's injuries documented. The welts on her back were severe enough that she had to sleep on her stomach for several days while they healed. The doctor who examined her, Dr. Patricia Sullivan, was appalled by what had happened. "I've seen a lot of child abuse cases in my 20 years in emergency medicine," she told me privately in the hallway. "But attacking a child for academic achievement is particularly disturbing. It sends the message that success is something to be ashamed of." The news of what happened spread quickly through our family and community. Most people were horrified that Karen had beaten a child for getting good grades, but there were a few relatives, Karen's sister and her mother, who tried to minimize what had happened, calling it a misunderstanding or discipline that went too far. Nicholas was caught in an impossible situation. He was horrified by what his wife had done to his niece, but he also felt pressure to support his marriage from Karen's family. "Rebecca, I'm so sorry," he told me through tears after Karen's arrest, standing on my front porch because I wouldn't let him in the house. "I had no idea she was capable of something like this." "How could you not know?" I asked. "She's been making nasty comments about Lily for months. The signs were all there, Nicholas. You just chose not to see them." The legal process was swift and decisive. Karen pleaded guilty to child abuse charges rather than going to trial. She was sentenced to 8 months in jail, 2 years of probation, mandatory anger management classes, and a restraining order that prohibited her from having any contact with Lily or me. The family consequences were severe and immediate. Most of our relatives cut Karen off completely after learning what she'd done. Tyler was removed from Karen's custody temporarily while social services investigated the home environment. Nicholas filed for divorce within a week of Karen's arrest. "I can't continue being married to someone who violently attacked my niece," he told me. "What if Tyler brings home a bad grade and she snaps again? I can't risk it." Karen lost her job as a dental hygienist at Bright Smiles Dental after her conviction became public record. She also lost her apartment when she couldn't make rent from jail. 6 months after the incident, Lily is doing well physically and emotionally. We've been working with a wonderful therapist, Dr. Sandra Martinez, to help her process what happened and ensure that she doesn't develop negative associations with academic achievement. Lily has actually become more confident and self-assured since the incident. She's learned that some people will resent her for her abilities, but that their problems are not her responsibility. "I feel bad that Aunt Karen was so unhappy," she told me recently while we were making chocolate chip cookies together. "But I'm not going to pretend to be less smart to make other people feel better about themselves." The restraining order remains in place, and I have no intention of ever allowing Karen back into our lives. Someone who would beat a child for academic success is not someone I trust around my daughter. What would you do if a family member physically attacked your child because they were jealous of your child's achievements?